People change. Opinions change. Places change. Thoughts change. Time never stands still. At Surrey, we're adapting and striving for better. Teaching advances. Learning develops. Our approach evolves. Methods move on. Progress. Student needs evolve. We listen and respond. Connections deepen. Support grows. Facilities improve. Global partners connect. Relationships grow. New faces arrive. Lives are changed. Research evolves. Knowledge broadens. Collaboration inspires us. Discoveries are made. Communities are brought together, taking care of each other, reaching out, learning together. A pandemic ensues. The world stands still. We join forces, take steps forward. The nation applauds our heroes. Surrey heroes. We're in this together, growing, learning, sharing, supporting. And wonderful things happen. Here at Surrey, we never stand still.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I'm Kat Mack, Student Enterprise Manager here at the University of Surrey. Thank you all for joining us. We are delighted to welcome 4 inspiring Surrey alumni to share their business stories in today's event, What It Takes to Become a Successful Entrepreneur. Our host is our very own Surrey alumnus, Dr. Will Lanham-New, Programme Director for Business Management with Entrepreneurship. So I'll hand over to Will to introduce today's panel and tell you how you can get involved in today's event.
Hello, good evening and welcome. Thanks for the introduction, Katrina. A special welcome to my 4 panellists who have all gone on to do amazing entrepreneurial ventures and set up businesses in their own right. Equally, a special welcome to you, my audience, because you're going to play a special part in tonight's proceedings. You're going to email or put a question in the Dropbox Q&A and come directly through to the team where we will hopefully answer all your questions. My name is Dr. Will Lanham-New and I am the Programme Director for Business Management and Entrepreneurship. I'm also the Programme Director for the Enterprise Creation UG level that comes out of the Surrey Idea Space under the guidance of Professor Andy Agcroft. So if you're watching, boss, I hope I'm doing a good job. My area of research is interaction ritual amongst entrepreneurs. So I'm particularly interested to see how entrepreneurs navigate their daily life and space and what social situations they go to and how energy repels or pushes them to these different social situations. I'm also researching into impression management, and this is how entrepreneurs manage their impression when they're on stage. So they project a projection that they want the audience to accept as true. So tonight, the stage is quite literally set for this performance. So let me go on to, enough of me, so let me go on to introduce my panellists. Mary did an MSc in International Hotel Management in 2005, and she's the Chief Executive of the Mary Dina Foundation, an NGO which focuses on alleviating hunger and improving lives and welfare of women and children. Prior to this, she founded JobLink, Nigeria's first job centre, and Mary has gone on to win numerous awards, including a past winner of the Vice-Chancellor Award in 2019 for outstanding contribution to society. Mary is dialing in live from Nigeria, so we are delighted to have Mary. Good evening, Mary.
Good evening. Thank you so much.
Alberto did a BSc in Business Management in Entrepreneurship in 2018, and he's one of my former students. Good evening, Alberto. And
Good evening.
Alberto is the director of the AAVL Group, a sports talent management company which focuses on building strong relationships with professional footballers. And also it provides a platform for them to reach their full potential by supporting them in various aspects throughout their career. My second to last guest is Shagan, and Shagan did a BSc Business Management in 2011. Shagan is the founder of Gym Kitchen, which provides high-protein, macro-friendly, ready meals for health-conscious individuals. His products are stocked in major supermarkets in England, and Shagan is one of the winners of this year's Vice-Chancellor's Award, Alumni Awards in Young Achiever of the Year category. Good evening, Shagan.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
My last but not least is David. David did a BEng, similar to me. I did a BEng back in 1995 in Information Systems Engineering. He finished that in 2000. David is the CEO and co-founder of Striva, a fintech company using groundbreaking technology to fix problems fundamental to economies by streamlining efficiencies surrounding payments. Striva have just won the Innovation in the Voluntary Charity Sector Award in the Guildford Innovation Awards 2020. So welcome to my panel. My first question to you guys is, can each panelist introduce yourself to the audience and your business? How long has it been running? What does the business do? And what's your role within the business? And what are the key achievements that you've actually got under your belt? So that first question goes to Mary.
Thank you very much. So I'm the founder and chief executive of Mary Duna Foundation. We're a charity that is focused on delivering food to the needy and people who are vulnerable. Currently, we're providing 4 million meals to women and children in northeast of Nigeria, people that have been affected by crisis and terrorism. Prior to this, I set up Nigeria's first ever job center with my team, JobLink. And so the charity and the foundation has been going on for about 7 years now. I would say, one of our major achievements is setting up JobLink, and also now the amount of impact that we're making in the Northeast to people that need it the most.
Fantastic. Alberto, to you next. Hello, Alberto.
Yeah,
Alberto, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you very much. So AVL was a dream of mine from a very young age. We've now been operating for 3 years. I call the past 2 years, really briefly, a warm-up. What we're really trying to focus on is two main areas, which is the talent management side of things, which is obviously the representation of sporting athletes, primarily football right now, looking after them as people, not just as assets. The other side that we're also focusing on is the sporting investment side, where we've successfully invested in a big data company and also fan engagement loyalty platform. I would say, to summarize the past couple of years, the greatest achievements have been starting to make an impact within the community with our own grassroots football club as well here in London, alongside having 20 athletes now under our guidance, which shows the trust and support that we're installing in them.
Fantastic. Shagan.
Hi there, my name's Shagan. I'm the founder of the Gym Kitchen. So we've been going for about 3 years, but only launched a year ago, actually, into Asda and Co-op. So I saw a gap in the market where, as a gym goer, I just couldn't understand why healthy food in the retailers just didn't exist. So went on a long journey to create my own products and eventually launched them into the retailers. So we've not been going long, but we're doing some really good stuff. And only a month ago, we launched into Co-op stores as well as Asda stores.
Excellent. And last but not least, David.
Hi there, yeah, my name's David Michael. I'm the CEO of Striva. We're a team of 7 people. We've been running for about 3 years, started in 2018. And I mean, our focus has been to automate the processes that cost time and money, remove them from people having to do them. So our initial focus has been to automate gift aid to charities, because £500 million that should go to charity every year doesn't. But by creating an automated solution with our product SwiftAid, we're looking to make sure that that money does go to charity automatically, and also provide all the statements and reporting to donors, so they get everything they need to claim their tax, as well as the charities to get their gift aid. Key achievements, I think the main thing is actually getting sign off by HMRC and actually implementing new processes and digital ways, which previously were paper-based and form-based, and having them signed off by HMRC and accepted. That's probably some of our key achievements to date.
Fantastic. A quick question from me. So what made you all become entrepreneurs?
I've always, I think, been an entrepreneur, because it's from leaving university in 2000, it was just like wanting to make a difference. And I did try working at a big company, and just felt that just being a sort of a small wheel in a cog, of a machine that could just drop work, and the things you're working on doesn't necessarily make that much of a difference. But I just think, I don't know, it just always seemed built in that I just only wanted to really work for a small business, and ones which could make a difference. And that's just kind of what's been my drive, to sort of try and excel and make things better.
Okay.
But yeah.
You've touched on something very important there, which we'll come back to in a moment. But I think Mary was going to go next. Mary, what made you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for me, in terms of my background, I grew up in the UK, and studying in Surrey, I started. I joined international hotel groups like Marriott and Four Seasons, and that was really exciting. But I was really motivated to take the knowledge and the experience that I had learned to other parts of the world, in particular to Nigeria, where my parents are from. The tourism industry was just sort of starting to pick up at the time, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to sort of introduce the key learnings the opportunities I've had, and change the market. And so that was true for the first company that I started, MAD Hospitality, as well as the Job Centre. I used the Job Centre Plus from the UK to set up JobLink, which was really successful. We were able to connect about 10,000 youths to work. So for me, it was really that opportunity. I saw entrepreneurship as a means whereby I could, go global with the things that I've learned from the UK.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to have a view on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, so for me, I grew up, when going to school, I was always kind of selling sweets and just had that entrepreneurial spirit within me. And then I went to go and work for a number of different big companies and really enjoyed it there. But you just manage one specific department. So I thought, you know what, I've got a little bit more in me. I like the startup world. I like just running around doing stuff, creating things. So it just felt right that the entrepreneurial route was the one for me.
Okay, so I'll go back to my second question that I was going to ask you. Are entrepreneurs born or made? What's your view on that? Are entrepreneurs born or made? Tricky question, but what do you think, guys? Shagan was mentioning sweets selling at school, and David was kind of broadly going into the topic. What do you think, they're born or made?
I think it's probably a bit of both, but I think the made thing on my side is probably my personal experience when I was younger. I didn't have the fear of failure. I think that was probably what stops a lot of people from jumping to that side of things. But yeah, I think there's some experiences that you could probably have through life which actually makes you want to experiment and makes you want to do those sorts of things. So it's almost like a faith in yourself to actually be able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Shagan?
and I'd probably steer towards. The made, just because you can have an entrepreneurial spirit, but actually going out and doing it is something completely different. So okay. I think you learn these skills and you grow as a person, and you almost have to be fearless in it. Okay.
I think Alberto was trying to.
Yeah, no, I think definitely resonate with the response from David Sagan. I think ultimately from my own background as well, coming from a financial background of my father, I always saw the physical and family sacrifices that he had to make, and how he always was in a restricted environment and couldn't really fulfill his own ambitions to give back to communities and have a bigger purpose in what he was doing in his daily working life. So I definitely think that the experiences that you go through are definitely extremely complementary to deciding to become an entrepreneur.
Excellent. Again, I'm going to just broaden this discussion by Shagan mentioned MADE. So can you learn entrepreneurship through being taught entrepreneurship at university?
I wanted to touch on that because I studied entrepreneurship and new ventures at Harvard. And although people say entrepreneurship is not something that can be taught, it's more of a personality trait. It's something that you learn as you go along. But I there's a strong case for learning entrepreneurship. On that course in entrepreneurship and new ventures, we learned how to write a proper business plan that is solid, how to raise finance, how to analyze the market, how to review what your competitors are doing, create a space in the market for yourself, look at opportunities. And that really gave me the knowledge and the confidence that I needed to start a company. So I think that there's a big portion of learning that's important with entrepreneurship. Okay, fantastic. So I guess my next question is, and I'm going to start with David. Sorry, David, but I'm going to start with you. How did Surrey help you to become an entrepreneur?
Whoa, that's a big one. No, I think what it was is, especially when I started uni, it was a lot less hand-holdy. When you had to sort of get off your bum and get to work on yourself rather than actually being taken through things. And I think that made a big difference. That's even just doing the courses. And I think the other side of it is the fact that I did a placement sandwich course at university, and that gave me a lot of experience with the outside world and understanding, how other businesses worked. And that gave me a lot of experience of without having to go out there and do that and try it and almost set that up as a career. It's almost like you go out there for a year and you stop that so you can experience it and make and consume it and then make your decision as to how you want to go forwards.
Fantastic. Alberto, how did Surrey help you?
I think how Surrey helped me really was when I made my decision to and I was formally accepted to the university. I saw it as a great place to innovate. I always saw that it has such a wonderful diversity. The age ranges, also the fact that the lecturers as well had been in industry and various different practices, definitely gave me the helped me refine my skill set. I would say really in the sense of, like Mary said, everything to do with how to set up a business plan, the financial side of things, and man management as well was something that definitely, I think, through the various group activities that Surrey encouraged us to do on a weekly basis, that definitely helped me and helps me on a daily basis in running my own team.
Excellent. Next, I'm going to go to Mary with the same question. Please, Mary.
Yeah, for me, so I had studied computer science at Nottingham. That was my first degree. So moving to Surrey was like a conversion course, the Masters in Hotel Management. And I found it so exciting. I was so passionate about it. And but I sort of almost fell into the trap of, dropping out and being so excited that I was just ready to get into the marketplace. And I got good advice from someone that said, I know you're excited, you want to start your own thing, but I think you should finish your course. And I'm really glad that I did. Even the process of the dissertation, it was very challenging, but it was very interesting at the same time. It really helped me grow as a person. I was able to tell myself that, look, this is challenging, but I can do it. I think I was quite young when I did my master's as well. I started at the age of 20. I was 20 when I did my master's. Wow. So I had to, keep telling myself that, you can do this. And I got a distinction. I was very pleased. And more recently, we applied for our first sort of global grant with USAID. Again, it was very challenging. It was about 22 pages of detail. And I remember telling my sister that I don't know if I can do this. It's so complicated. And she said, you've written quite a number of really excellent dissertations. I'm sure you can do it. And it made me think about that time at Surrey, those 3 months in the summer working on the dissertation. And that just gave me the strength I needed in this moment to break through. And we were able to then partner with USAID, and that really catapulted our impact. So all of the experiences from university, it just builds you up, makes you stronger for the challenges ahead.
Fantastic. Shagan?
Yeah, so Surrey for me, I think it was amazing. It shaped me in ways I can't imagine, because I actually originally wanted to stay in London and I grew up in a deprived area. So I'm only ever used to what we'd consider the hood. But I managed to get into Surrey, and I literally packed up everything, went down there, and it was just a different life altogether. It was almost like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Just walking in, I kind of had my afro comb in my hair, my trousers a bit low, and automatically you just see that this is not what the area is like. This is not what the people are like. And you just learn to adapt, and you learn to just change, and you learn to be different. And that really did put the entrepreneur in me. I also did a placement year like David, and that taught me how to act and behave in the working environment, then leading on to get a number of different jobs and then to launch my own business. So, I absolutely loved Surrey, and Surrey was amazing for me in shaping me.
Fantastic. And what about that grit and determination, that kind of streetwise thing? Have you used that in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you meet so many different people every day. Some people that are, trying to get money off of you, but some people that are trying to, seize an opportunity. I've got a manufacturer I'm dealing with. I've got retailers I'm dealing with. You just have to know how to shape conversations and how to just, almost be different in different scenarios. And that has definitely stuck with me for sure.
Okay. Another quick question here, before I go on to some of the audience questions, is how, as an entrepreneur, and I know this from setting up my own business, as an entrepreneur, do you feel constantly on? Do you feel constantly trying to manage your impression to be out there? Alberto, do you feel constantly trying to manage your impression to others?
I think that definitely something that you don't really learn along the way in your education career really is man management, and I think the way that people perceive you in your marketplace. I think that's definitely in my industry with primarily football being, I call it a language spoken globally. It is extremely important to see how you carry yourself, how you interact with other people. Yeah. And especially with what we try to do at AVL, it's about having a wider purpose. So definitely for me, it's about trying to, with, for example, our academy here in London, it definitely resonates with the values of AVL. And so impression is paramount at what we do. Okay,
same question to David.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges I had was always being, because I was always slightly a bit of a perfectionist, and actually held me back sometimes. And it's almost like overcoming the worry about what other people are going to think of you, especially when you're out there trying to forge a new thing which no one else has done before. And it's almost like a bit of self-confidence in yourself, which you need to just be able to do. But it's also that within you, it helps refine your proposition, make sure what you're doing is the best thing you can, but not being held back. And especially when you have a big opportunity come up and you don't want to get it wrong, it can sometimes put in the procrastination side of things. So, not doing something is much worse than doing something slightly wrong. So just make sure that you keep tabs on that and use it to the benefit, but overcome it when you feel that you can see you're feeling the pressure on yourself to try and do something too well. That's what I would say.
Okay, Mary, how do you manage your impression of you and your business?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've learned to just be myself, because coming from a hospitality background, working with luxury hotels, and sometimes having that lifestyle, and then moving into humanitarian work. I'm also, I won Miss Nigeria Great Britain, so that's quite different. And I was modeling, from a young age. So trying to put together all of those different aspects to me and build my own image and my own brand was something that was, I realized that I was just quite different, and I didn't want to be, put in one corner and said, you have to be like this as a humanitarian or like this as a hotelier. So I just decided for myself that, I just have to be myself. And for me, all of these things are, it all merges together. For example, with the hospitality, food and beverage is something that we've always learned a lot about. Now we're feeding children, women and children in the north northeast of Nigeria in a crisis zone. For me, the empathy is really there because of all of the things that I've learned, and I'm able to advise very strongly in terms of the nutrition, in terms of menus and so on. Yeah. So things merge a lot more than you would believe. And I think it's important to be individual, be yourself, and just share that with the world. And when you do, you realize how much they embrace you and appreciate all of the different aspects to you.
Fantastic. A really, really good answer. The Shagan, you mentioned about when you came to Surrey and you had your Afro comb in your back pocket. Tell me about that, how you manage your impression, because there must be times when you go back, surely, to have your Afro comb in your back pockets. How do you manage your impression?
Yeah. So for me, it's particularly within FMCG, is I am one of the very, very few Black people that run a business. So growing, kind of going through the different work ladders, I'd always kind of latch on to the corporate language and the corporate talk. But now that I've kind of gone off and done it myself, I've kind of gone back to just being myself but I do still know in the back of my head that, there is a weight that I'm carrying that for the next generation of young Black individuals who also want to launch their own food brand, I've got to represent them in the best way possible. So, it's not going all the way back to what I was when I first joined Surrey, but there are elements of me just being myself, but being professional in the same way.
Fantastic. So, again, we're going to go around a quick fire question here. What's your major challenge that you've overcome? What's the major challenge you faced, and how have you overcome it?
Yeah, so my major challenge was actually getting my product onto the shelves of the retailers. So I picked probably one of the hardest product categories to ever launch anything into. The retailers are so fixated on their own label products. But what I did was I found a manufacturer that already had some of those connections in. I made sure that I pitched this whole idea. I got customers, videos of customers speaking and talking about why they would really desire a product like this, and kind of almost sold the whole package in. And eventually we just got a little trial. And then from there, that trial turned into more stores and then turned into another retailer. So that was my biggest challenge, and just thinking really creatively as to how you overcome it.
Okay. Alberto?
I think one of the most difficult challenges we definitely had to face was that my marketplace is not regulated up to now. And so there's individuals from every single type of background, every single type of experience really that they've had in life. And I think what would definitely happen in a lot of our meetings with prospective clients was the misguidance that they were being given a lot of the time. So being a young company, being a young individual myself, it was about really leaning on the best-in-class partners that we had and trying to really hone in on our key differentiators in a marketplace which in London alone, where we're based, has over 3,000 agencies alone. So we definitely, for us, it was overcoming certain stereotypes, certain misguidance within the industry, it not being regulated, and obviously everything to do with how can we be different and not a standard agency.
Okay, David.
I think there's a couple of things, but I think the one of the key ones is trying to get that first customer, especially if you're doing something brand new that no one else has done before. So you're not only selling a product, but you're also selling a whole new concept, and that's one of the things which we have with Swift Aid is, our first proposition was automated gift aid on contactless donations, and there has been so many other companies that went to HMRC before us, and they've all ultimately said no to all of those. So we had to overcome the challenge of walking and coming in and going, actually, no, we do have something that can work, and breaking down that barrier and speaking to them for 3 months before we even started developing, because we needed to make sure that they signed off on our concept before we even started building something. So actually getting the backing of the industry bit by bit, starting with HMRC, and actually we ended up doing a proof of concept with Visa and the Natural History Museum in 2018. And it was just knocking those blocks one by one down and actually getting to that point where HMRC gave us the tick in January 2019 for something that no one else has managed to do. That was a big challenge.
Brilliant effort. Fantastic. Mary?
Yeah, for me, it was really getting into the hard to reach areas, with the foundation. So we had been doing the job centers in Lagos primarily and Abuja, which are, major cities and capital of Nigeria. But then in the northeast of Nigeria, we call it the Bay region, Borno, Adamawa, Yobe. They've been going through about 12 years of terrorism and attacks and lots of, really heartbreaking things going on. And I wanted to go in, with my team to help, but it was quite difficult to navigate, in terms of the city. And actually, that's where the pandemic sort of gave us the opportunity, because everyone's been working from home. And I realized that, we could hire people, employ people, humanitarians in that region, coordinate them, from the head office. Even if we're not able to travel there as much as we want, we're still able to, make a lot of impact. And so that's what we did. We started last year, and it's been absolutely fantastic. The team on the ground, they know the people, they speak the language, they're conversant, they're the same religion.
Okay, we're just slightly losing Mary there. Some of the connection is fairly poor. I'm going to switch it around a bit, and I'm going to throw some questions at you guys, so be prepared. These are from the audience. Like I say, it's not rehearsed. I'm doing my filtering job here. So the first one is from Steve Wood. And Steve asks, I'm assuming the panelists have endured their fair share of setbacks before they succeeded. How important is resilience in the entrepreneurial journey? Thank you, Steve. How important is resilience in the entrepreneurial journey?
I think it's so important to have your self-belief. You'll have so many people who say no, and what you actually end up doing is actually that gives you more flame and power in you to want to try and prove them wrong. So you may be belligerent a little bit, but you need to have that self-belief, and you need to have that thing of actually, no, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to show you that it can be done. But you try not to be deluded. But I think most entrepreneurs aren't. They see something, they believe something, and they'll go out there and test their assumptions to make sure that it's right. But just ignore. Don't ignore the ones who say no. Just use it to power you along. But also, always double check, make sure your workings do make sense to you as well.
Okay, Shagan, so how important is resilience in the entrepreneurial journey?
It is extremely important. So I spent 2 years building this before it even launched on shelf. I went round and I pitched it to every single retailer, Tesco, Asda, Sainsbury's, Waitrose, Ocado. All of them said no first time round. Then I went round again. All of them said no. But eventually, because I knew that there is a category for it, I spoke to the customer. I got the understanding from the customer that they want this. So eventually someone had to say yes. And that's all it took. It just took that one person to say yes. But without me believing in it, people were telling me to quit and just, kind of go back to your day job, just forget about this. But without me believing in myself, then these products wouldn't be on shelf right now doing really well.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Alberto.
I think resilience is definitely it's integral. Really, that's how I'd really summarize it. I think it's especially with football in general, it's huge companies as well that we're competing on a daily basis, and the whole idea has floated in times on too young of a company, lack of track record, etc., etc. So I think I always use the analogy of sometimes you do feel like as though you can't see the shore. But you keep swimming, because when you believe in something and you think that you have something with a true purpose and you believe in your differentiators, then it's important to grind your teeth and just continue moving forward.
Fantastic. Just for, we've got Mary back with us now. I just want to repeat a question from Steve Wood. Steve said, how important is resilience in the entrepreneurial journey, Mary?
I think it's massive. You have to believe in yourself. For us, working in difficult areas and challenging areas, dangerous areas, every day we remind ourselves of the impact that we're making, of the change that we're making, of the lives that we're touching. And that gives us the strength to go on. We come across many great challenges, from insurgencies to attacks, or even challenges within our own team and within the communities that we're going into. Sometimes the language barriers, sometimes the religious discrimination. In those sort of regions, many times gender discrimination as well. But we just always remind ourselves of the reason why we're there, the change that we want to make, and we're able to see really, really great impact from that. So resilience is central to making a difference.
Okay, on my iPad, which you can't see, there's loads and loads of questions coming in, guys. So we're going to go for it now. So Rob asks, we often hear of entrepreneurs using their long working hours as a badge of honor, this kind of superhuman, I'm an entrepreneur, superhuman. What are your thoughts on this being a toxic culture, and how do you look after your health, mental health and well-being? Alberto.
I think definitely if I were to really cast my eye over the past year, myself, I used to struggle with having a strict routine, but I think during the pandemic, it was extremely important to have a little bit more of a structure involved, i.e. having time management, being at the forefront of what I was doing. I think also after a time, you get used to understanding yourself as a leader, as an entrepreneur, and understanding how you can be most efficient with your time and really honing on the priorities. Because I think a lot of the time, being your own boss or your own entrepreneur, a lot of the time you are trying to manage and control everything. And sometimes you're not honing in primarily on the priorities and just trying to do everything you can. So definitely for me, it's been an eye-opener the past year in terms of finding a routine that works for me.
Okay, brilliant. Shagan?
Yeah, so for me, it shouldn't be a badge of honor. I mean, it's terrible, working. I work all sorts of times. You just never know what's going on. And even when I'm in a supermarket, I'm walking down the fixture. But I'm learning that there needs to be an element of figuring out how to switch off, because it is dangerous. It is draining. So just trying your best to separate work from, your everyday life. And I do that by having an office, and I close my office door on the weekends and try and leave my laptop in there over the weekends and just answer quick emails. But yeah, I agree with Rob. It shouldn't be a badge of honor at all. It's quite dangerous, to be fair.
Okay, Mary?
Yeah, I think work-life balance is very important. More recently, I've sort of expanded my list of activities that I do and the things I enjoy. In the evenings, I swim. I sometimes do yoga. I just started fencing. I play polo. And I sort of have a calendar where from 5 to 6 p.m. I'm outdoors, doing these different sports. I think it's important so that you have a certain time of the day where you close. Otherwise, the tendency is that you keep on working. And even if you're not doing work in terms of creating an Excel sheet or sending an email, the work, sometimes it's just you thinking about all of the things that you want the company to achieve, your vision, your growth plans, and that in itself is draining. I also have a time in the week, every week, that I have a massage, and I quite enjoy that and it helps me relax. So those things I prioritize, and those times for me are golden.
Fantastic. Sounds like you got the right recipe there, Mary. And David?
Yeah, well, one of the things which we do at work is we make sure that everyone has like half an hour to an hour each week with someone random in the team, so they can just chat about things which is important to them. It doesn't have to be about work, but also it's important that, at the weekends, just to switch off as much as you can. Just don't do anything Saturday or Sunday if that's possible, just to give your head a rest, because if you're constantly working, you just won't keep up. You just start to flag, and then you'll feel bad, and then it gets worse. So make sure you do have those cut-off times.
Okay, very, very interesting. I've got one here from Christabel, and Christabel asks, what is the toughest challenge you faced on the entrepreneurial journey? The single most toughest challenge, if you could Shagan, if you could kind of tell us about your single most
COVID-19.
COVID-19. Why was that tough for you, Shagan?
Because everyone was buying chicken and toilet roll, so it overwhelmed the supply chain, and we had to get paused for 2 weeks. So we weren't on shelf. I had customers screaming and shouting, "Why can't we get the gym kitchen product?" So yeah, it was a nightmare.
Okay, Mary?
I'd say initially when we started the job center, it actually started as a human resource company, and we quickly found out that the companies really wanted our service, and the youths were getting jobs, but we were not getting paid at all. And at the time, it wasn't set up as a foundation. It was set up as a human resources company, and the model was that it was a job center, but that the companies would pay a fee, for us getting them people and for the work that we're doing for them. And it was a very tough decision when that wasn't happening. We had to I had to make the tough decision to think to myself, well, the revenue side of it is non-existent, but in terms of the impact we're making, we're getting lots of letters from people thanking us for the work that we're doing, for helping them. So this is clearly a humanitarian endeavor. And so I had to make the tough decision to rework the company, even re-register the company, and start raising funding in terms of donations and continue as a humanitarian company. And that was how we started it as an NGO. So that was by far the most difficult decision I'd ever made. And it was really successful because since then, a lot of other things have opened up for us.
So if I got that right, you switched from the company to an NGO, and that was a difficult transition.
Yeah, majorly.
Okay. Alberto?
I think definitely biggest challenge was operating in a pretty much, you could say, for some saturated market. You know, the world of sports representation is pretty standard with the network, the contacts, the contractual negotiation that all agents and agencies offer. But for us, it was really about being young and trying to really focus on what made us different. What was our unique selling point? Where were we going to position ourselves in the market? And basically how we overcame that was partnering with the best in class in the financial, commercial, lifestyle, and sectors, and try to create a more bespoke, holistic approach to representation, which views the person, as I said previously, as the athlete, more as a person and not an asset, and try to help them in every stage of their career, during their career and also post-career, and creating a real good sustainability. So that was the most difficult challenge.
Really interesting, different views, fascinating stuff. And David?
Yeah, I think that the toughest challenge is saying no to things where you're interested in trying to fix other problems really close by to what you're focusing on. And it's very easy just to drift in and go, actually, yeah, we can help you with that. And then actually go back to the team and they go, no, you can't. You haven't got resources to do that. So it's about saying no and focusing on the key points and challenges which you need to deal with. Yeah, so it's almost like turning away the challenges. It's the biggest problem or challenge which I've had.
Okay, so just pushing back on some of the different areas. Brilliant. Great insight there. The next question comes from Andy Adcroft. And Andy asks, what advice would you give our current students who may be thinking that being an entrepreneur is something for them when they graduate? So our current students, imagine the third year students coming up now, near to graduation. So what advice would you give them, Mary?
Yeah, I'd say wherever you find the opportunity, that's when you need to start. They shouldn't feel as though they have to wait till they graduate before they can start to put the foundations of the company. It's something you don't know when that opportunity will come. There's so many examples around the world. Some of the largest companies that we know, they started in the university dorm. Many of them were still able to continue with their degrees. But then if they didn't take that opportunity then, who knows if it would have passed them by. So for the current students, I'd say, start to build the foundations of the company that you intend to start, do the research, start to make the connections. Networking is so important. Your net worth, your network determines your net worth. And don't feel that because you're in university that you can't make the right and necessary connections. You absolutely can. For some of the things that we do, some of the biggest things that we've done, I was telling someone recently that they've never asked my age, for example. How do they know what if I was 19 or 21? There's just no way of finding out. And I'm sure most people are just not interested in your age. They just want to see that you can do it. So never count yourself out, even if you're still in university. You might just have your big break sooner than you think.
Excellent. So you're saying when you're in your final year to do some research about your company, and then when you leave university, just go for it.
Yes.
Okay. Shagan, what advice would you give to our undergrads?
Yeah, first of all, hi Andy. Haven't spoke to you or seen you for ages. Secondly, so first, I'd say you've got to first of all do something that you're absolutely passionate about. Do something that you love, because it is a long, hard journey. So think about what you love and think about whether there's a need for this business. Start doing the research now. There's never been an easier time to start a business. There are so many resources out there. There are so many people that want to help. I mean, even the university want to help. And then the last thing I'd say is probably utilize your community and the people around you. You know, you might have friends or people that you've met that want to launch something in the same environment as you. So why not team up and do it as a team? You know, it could just start off as a project and then lead on to a business, but just seize the opportunity.
Okay. Fantastic advice. David?
Yeah, well, first of all, completely believe in yourself, because you've got to get that power from somewhere. But then also just test that theory you have. Get out, sort of, if you are driven and you have an idea and a concept, go out there, talk to people, and try and get your first customer. You can very easily mock something together or get prototypes and be able to impart your concept or idea to them to see if it's got legs. Just make sure that what you're doing, test it against the market and test your assumptions.
Okay.
But yeah, just you've got to enjoy it as well. You've got to enjoy it.
Alberto?
I think definitely the advice would be to. I know that when I started my own business, I was at the university, and it was all about, like Mary said, about really laying down the foundations, doing your own appropriate research as well with your market. How could you be competitive? What do you stand for? Where do you want to be here in 5-10 years? We also work and we're living in a time which is ever changing. It's extremely fast paced. There's a lot of free resources now online as well for multiple disciplines. I thoroughly encourage that as well. Continuous learning is something that I try to indoctrinate on my own workforce, but also myself on a daily basis. And network. LinkedIn, these wonderful panels by universities, and trying to, if you can have the opportunity, shadow someone in your given field. It would be something fantastic, because you'll learn some real interpersonal skills that you can't learn most of the time. Okay,
we've got so many questions coming in. We're going to do our best to answer as many as we can, guys. So my next question, and we're going to cut, how would you tackle wanting to launch a product that is similar to something that is already available? I'm going to go back to Alberto. How would you manage that? How would you do that?
I think, especially, and this resonates very well, particularly with the scenario that I mentioned, with the biggest challenge that we had to overcome. I think the main thing is about trying to, especially in our scenario, was trying to partner with the best in class. So whatever you do, try to do it premium. Try to also be selective with the clients and the clientele that you're working with, in order for you to really be able to get to know your clientele on a personal basis as well. And I think that would be more or less how we maneuvered around being in a saturated market, was really trying to go to the nth degree in regards to why our vision was different.
Okay. David?
I think what I would do is to look to see how you differentiate yourself against the competition. Are you working in a slightly different area? What's the target customers you're going for? Is there something they've missed?
Yeah.
And is there somewhere where you can compete hands down on which they can't? So I think looking for the differentiation and trying to make something your own. Also try and focus on a niche to begin with. Don't try and capture a whole market. If there's something where you stand out very specifically on something, go for that, and don't be too tempted to go wide too quickly. Just nail that whole market segment and then expand slightly afterwards, and that will help you get there, I think.
Okay, brilliant advice. Mary?
I'd say coming from a service-oriented industry in terms of hospitality, I'd say definitely work on the service. I've seen hotels sell pretty much the same room for £1,000 a night versus another hotel that sells it for £300 a night. And the key difference, the product is the same, the rooms are the same, the amenities are the same, but the service is completely different. That attention to detail that they give their clients, and or it could be the after sales service, and those things really transform your product offering. It takes a lot of understanding the market and research to see where the other product might be lacking in the services that they offer. So I'd say that service, having a real service culture that is very, very high end is important for differentiating yourself in
Okay,
the market, even if you have the same product.
excellent. Shagan?
Yeah, it just goes back to what everyone else has been saying, really. Unique selling point. You know, what market are you trying to attract? For me, it was all about bringing a new type of customer into the supermarket to buy ready meals. The current gym goers weren't buying ready meals, and I just had to demonstrate that that was going to be the case. And also within that, it's, are you trading customers up out of some of the existing brands like Weight Watchers, for instance, who's a bit cheaper, which then means you're going to get a bit more money for the retailers. So it's just finding, though, what are you trying to achieve? What's your USP, and how are you going to package that in the right way?
Fabulous. I've got one question here I must ask, and this is to all of you, and I'll just let Mary go first. One thing you wish you'd known at the beginning that you know now?
I wish I had fully understood the value of networking. It's something that I feel has been kind of a gift. I think I get along well with people. I'm able to build, strong networks across countries. But if I knew that the difference between closing a deal or getting a donor or a sponsor or selling a product or, being ahead of the market, a lot of the times is in terms of it's all about who you know and your network, and being able to make that critical phone call at that moment could change everything. I remember when we set up JobLink and we changed it from a human resource company that was commercial to an NGO, our whole profit model and our revenue model changed. From a few phone calls, from clients that I'd met before, people that I knew, we were able to raise $1 million in the space of about three months or so. So if I had known the power of networking the way I know now, I think that we would have been able to do a lot more quicker. And I would have invested more time, less time in the office and more time going out and meeting people.
Okay. Same question to you, David.
Yeah, I completely mirror that with regards to what Mary just said there. But in addition, I'd probably just say that maybe sort of learning to focus your message as to who you're trying to attract and the sales and marketing side of things, so that you get this whole pipeline and flow and a very clear understanding from your potential customers as to what you do. For quite a long time, even still, some of that messaging isn't quite right in what we do. Okay. So making sure that's there from if you can get it day one, amazing. But I think just making sure that that's so important, because not everyone can understand it the way you understand it, especially if it's new. Refine that.
Okay. Shagan?
Yeah, so I'd say I would love to just have known what the different functions do properly. So customer services, finance. So I've got a more sales and marketing background. So I'm really just learning this whole logistics piece and everything like that. So that's what I would do. I would investigate all of these different functions that all come together to really make a strong business. Okay,
and lastly, Alberto, what answer do you have?
Yeah, I think for me it's man management. I think being on a daily basis, having to manage people's expectations, their ambitions, their efficiency and the way that they work, also getting to know your own employees on a personal and professional standpoint is something that's very tricky, and you have to get the balance extremely right. And I think that's definitely something that only with experience, time, and running your own business or being part of a corporation is the only way of finding out. It's something that I don't think one can just educate themselves through constant education or reading books or something like that. I think you just have to experience it firsthand. So that's definitely one that I've had to learn.
Okay, so one of the themes I'm getting from this is the social part of entrepreneurship is really important, whether that's being social within your team, out there networking, all those things. So I'm very conscious of the time. We've got 5 minutes. I'm going to try and squeeze in another question, guys. It's gone rapid this evening. You've been a great panel. My last question is, hopefully we get one more in. So what did you find was the biggest barrier from creating an idea to then implementation? What was the biggest barrier from creating an idea to implementation? Alberto.
I think, and it goes back to pretty much the saturated market. I think ultimately for me, it was all about really honing in on who we are, what we stand for, and why we're different to our competition. And what we stand for, obviously, here at AVL, our main thing is about creating opportunities, not promises, and trying to leave a long-standing impression in the communities as well. You know, we as football lovers, we always see the luxurious side of the game, but there's a lot of parts of the game that are not being taken the same consideration and the same attention. So for us, it's about trying to leave really a long-standing mark on our industry, something that really is trying to give back to communities as well through language, which is football, and that's being done through our academy here in London.
Okay, fantastic. 3 minutes, guys. So over to David.
Very quickly, I think the biggest barrier is making sure that what we did met HMRC's requirements. So I think it's building that relationship and getting to know the people within that organisation and then getting them to sign off on your vision and what you want to do.
Okay, Shagan?
Yeah, so the biggest barrier for me was just convincing a manufacturer to go with my project. You either pick a small manufacturer and then a retailer's not going to trust them, or you pick a big manufacturer, but it's going to take forever to get around, the hoops of them trusting this young guy with just an idea. That was my biggest barrier, but managed to overcome it.
And how did you, just very briefly, Shagan, how did you overcome that? How did you get into the supermarkets?
So I had to do that by showing them the customer information. So what I did was I went around, I went to loads of different gyms, I recorded people talking about the product, I recorded people eating and trying the product and saying, yes, they'd buy this. And then coupled that with some Mintel data on the size of the category and the size of gyms and how much fitness at home is growing, took all of that, packaged it up into a presentation. And that's how I eventually convinced, first of all, Asda, then Co-op just saw the sales in Asda and how well it was doing. Fantastic. And hence they jumped on board.
Fantastic. Mary, last but not least.
Yeah, I think, for me, the biggest catalyst from idea to implementation is your team. Over the years, I've just really understood the value of your team, your human resources, your people is all you have. And I'm sort of always thinking about the next move. I'm very much the visionary, but making sure that the team is developed enough, trained enough, and ready and competent and enthusiastic and motivated enough to take that idea and then, we all work together to make it happen. But I think the power of your team is sometimes underestimated in entrepreneurship. You really can't do it alone. You need a very strong team to bring it to pass. Fantastic.
I believe we're approaching nearly running out of time. We've got 1 minute to 7. So I'm going to wrap up now. Fantastic panel. Brilliant discussion, and thank you very much for your time. To you, the audience, great questions. I'm sorry I didn't get round to answering all the questions, but for those that I hope I put those questions in the right way. And thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for sending the questions in. There is a link at the end in the chat box to do a survey. Thank you for joining us. Good night.